Let me start off with a tragic reminder of a tragic anniversary. 12 years ago today, off the coast of the Italian island of Lampedusa, 368 human beings lost their lives at sea while searching for a better life. At the time, UN agencies said that there was a widespread call for change and a commitment to ensure that such a tragedy would never happen again. Yet today, unfortunately, we continue to mourn lives lost at sea. Since that day, our colleagues at the UN Refugee Agency, the International Organization for Migration, and UNICEF tell us that an average of 42 people lost their lives every week along the central Mediterranean route, and we estimate that 1 in 5 of those are children. With over 32,700 deaths since 2014, the Mediterranean has become a death trap for those seeking safety, a dramatic reminder of the risks faced by migrants and refugees. UN agencies stress it is important that international cooperation remains strong, that conflicts are addressed, and that safe and regular migration channels are strengthened to reduce dependence on dangerous sea journeys organized by traffickers. A couple of senior personnel appointments to share with you. Today, the Secretary General is appointing Vanessa Fraser of Malta as his special representative for children and armed conflict. She succeeds Virginia Gamba of Argentina, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for her dedicated service and commitment to the United Nations. The Secretary General also wishes to extend his appreciation to Najat Mala Mjid, his special representative on violence against children, who is serving as his acting representative for children armed conflict until Ms. Fraser assumes her post. You, of course, all know Vanessa Fraser, who recently served as ambassador and permanent representative of Malta to the UN from 2020 to 2025. She brings a multilateral diplomatic expertise, crisis management skills, consensus building, dedication to child protection, with the ability to navigate a complex global negotiation and broker agreements among diverse stakeholders, having played a pivotal role as chair of the UN Security Council Working Group on Children and Armed Conflict. And I believe she is the first UN senior official to ever have been on an Olympic team. So we congratulate her and we welcome her. Also today, the Secretary General is appointing Nicole Flora Boni Kwasi of Côte d'Ivoire as his new Deputy Special Representative for the UN Integrated Office in Haiti, which you all know as BINUH, and she will also be the resident coordinator in Haiti. Ms. Boni Kwasi also will serve as the humanitarian coordinator. She succeeds Ulrika Richardson of Sweden, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for her dedicated service and steadfast commitment to the UN. Ms. Boni Kwasi brings over 22 years of UN experience to this position, with extensive experience in development, peace and security, and humanitarian work. She's been most recently the UNDP resident representative in Niger since 2022. And we welcome her and congratulate her on this appointment. Turning to Gaza, you will have seen that Tom Fletcher, our emergency relief coordinator, said today that we are ready and that we are eager to act on the window of opportunity provided by the U.S. initiative on Gaza. He said that we have some 170,000 metric tons of food, medicine, shelter, and other desperately needed supplies poised to enter Gaza from across the region. For the humanitarian plan to succeed, Mr. Fletcher said that we need to open crossings, we need safe movements for civilians and aid workers, unrestricted entry of goods, visas for staff, the space for humanitarians to operate, and the private sector to be revived. He called on the parties to agree to a ceasefire, to give us access, and just let us work. Meanwhile, on the ground, our humanitarian colleagues warned that the situation in northern Gaza continues to rapidly deteriorate. Military operations and heavy strikes hitting residential areas and buildings are driving up the death toll and continue to wreak havoc on the area. Aid workers continue to be among the civilians killed. You may have seen that yesterday one of our colleagues from Médecins Sans Frontières was reportedly killed in a strike on Deir el-Bala, and the strike also seriously injured 4 others while the team was waiting for a bus to go to an MSF hospital. This was the 14th staff member from Médecins Sans Frontières to have been killed in Gaza since the start of this conflict on October 7th. OCHA warns that since that date, at least 562 aid workers were killed, including some in the line of duty. That includes 376 UN staff members. On Wednesday, the Palestinian Civil Defense reported that Israeli strikes injured 7 of its rescue and firefighting officers and killed 1 while they were evacuating casualties at a school sheltering displaced families in Az-Zaytun neighborhood in Gaza City. Our partners report that hundreds of thousands of desperate civilians remain trapped in the north, as many have no means to relocate and are exhausted by continued displacement. Colleagues who visited Gaza City yesterday reported that many displaced families are now living in the parking lot of Al-Shifa Hospital, some for more than 2 weeks, without any means of support. Pregnant women and children are among the displaced sheltering in Al-Shifa. Hospital medics reported that most of their staff have either left for the south or either too terrified to keep coming to work amid the ongoing military activities. We continue to call for civilians, including aid and emergency responders, to be allowed to always be protected, and we recall that Israel, as the occupying power, has the obligation to ensure civilians' needs are met. Today, the World Health Organization led a mission to evacuate 3 critically ill newborn babies from Al-Helu Hospital in Gaza City to Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah so they could receive life-saving care that could no longer be provided at Al-Helu. This includes for 1 infant who was on critical oxygen therapy. A 4th baby who had been scheduled for transfer died this morning before the mission's arrival. Al-Aqsa itself is overwhelmed and facing severe shortages of medical supplies as more people flee south from the north. WHO recalls its call for the protection of health care and unhindered access to aid across Gaza. Our partners have also reported that after more than 9 months, the water from the Israeli Mikorot line is flowing again to Deir al-Balah following successful repairs. The operation of this line marks a significant improvement for the communities in that area. And up north, our colleagues at UNIFIL tell us that Israeli Defense Forces dropped grenades near UN peacekeepers who were working alongside Lebanese soldiers in an operation to provide security for civilian workers in Marun az-Ras. The workers were trying to clear the ruins of homes destroyed during the conflict. In the morning, peacekeepers at 2 different sites heard grenade explode about 500 meters away from them. Moments later, one group saw a drone fly overhead and witnessed an explosion about 30-40 meters away. About 20 minutes after that, the second group saw another drone drop a grenade that exploded just 20 meters over their heads. It goes without saying, but the IDF had been informed about our activities in advance, and our peacekeeping colleagues obviously immediately contacted the IDF and demanded the firing stop. Fortunately, no one was injured, and the work was eventually able to continue. Attacks on peacekeepers, as we've always said, or interference with their own work, mandated tasks, shows disregard for the safety and security of UNIFIL peacekeepers and the Lebanese army, and the stability they're trying to restore in South Lebanon. Such actions also constitute serious violation of Security Council Resolution 1701. Speaking of Security Council, this morning, this ambassadors heard a briefing from Miroslav Jenča, Assistant Secretary General for Europe, Central Asia, and the Americas, and also serving as the Special Representative Designate for Colombia. He noted that consolidating peace in Colombia after decades of conflict is a complex work in progress. Mr. Jenča pointed out that the coming national elections are increasing political tensions and polarization, and current fiscal constraints impinge upon financing for peace, adding that the recent tragic acts of violence and patterns of insecurity in certain regions are prompting urgent calls to enhance security. He stressed that every effort must be made to ensure that the country does not slip backwards, but rather continues to move forward along a trajectory of expanding peace and security, and the peace agreement is central to that solution. And we often talk to you about the underfunded humanitarian operations, and I can share with you the impact of such an operation. This is in Somalia, where the World Food Program warned today that millions in that country are at risk of worsening hunger and malnutrition as critical funding shortfalls have forced the agency to reduce the number of people it supports by over 2/3. In November, the World Food Programme will have to reduce the number of people who receive emergency food assistance to just 350,000, down from 1.1 million in August. This means that WFP will be supporting less than 1 in every 10 people who are indeed in need of food assistance for survival. The latest IPC report shows that 4.4 million people in Somalia are facing crisis level of food insecurity or worse. That includes 1 million in emergency levels of hunger, a number that has increased by 50% in just 6 months. WFP urgently requires $98 million to sustain a minimum of life-saving operations for 800,000 people through the lean season until March 2026. Without urgent additional funding, these reductions could deepen, just as humanitarian needs are actually growing. Speaking of food, our colleagues at FAO today said the benchmark of world food commodity prices declined slightly in September. This was led by drops in sugar and dairy price indices. FAO Food Price Index averaged 128.8 points in September versus revised August levels of 129.7. By September, the September reading represents a 3.4% increase from a year ago, however. And tomorrow, there's a whole week, International Week that begins. Tomorrow, International Space Week. It's liftoff time. This year's theme is Living in Space. Wouldn't that be nice? And it explores humanity's journey towards making space a habitat, emphasizing the innovative technologies, challenges, and collaborative efforts that make this vision a reality. And Sunday, think back to all those people who've helped you get to where you are, because it is World Teachers' Day. And the theme this year is recasting teaching as a collaborative profession. It highlights the transformative potential of collaboration for teachers, schools, and education system. And we got a quiz for you, 2 quizzes. Reportedly, the ancient game of polo was first played in this country over 2,000 years ago, primarily as a form of cavalry training. The Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran. I hope David is right, but I trust him. Sticking with sport, the national football team of this country is known as Les Fauves, the wild beasts. Okay, the Central African Republic. So thank you to our friends in Tehran and Bangui for paying. We are now up to 138 fully paid up member states. Amélie.
Thanks, Steph. About Haiti, sorry if the question was asked already, but after the vote in the Security Council on Tuesday, asking the SG to create the new UN support office, what is the process and the timeline for that? Thank you.
Well, I mean, the timeline is in the resolution. The process, I can tell you, is very much underway. I was just in a meeting with a large group of colleagues from the various departments trying to move the process forward in this, what is sort of a new and innovative way of doing things. And we're moving forward, wasting no time. Deji.
Yes, today President Trump set an ultimatum on the peace negotiation with Hamas. Has the Secretary General ever engaged in this process or informed
in the process of issuing ultimatums?
No, but communicating to facilitate the peace
I
deal.
think that there are enough chefs in the mediation kitchen, so to speak, between the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt. The Secretary General has been has kept in touch with a number of the mediators. I mean, we know what we want, and I think Tom Fletcher said it. Just agree to the ceasefire. Let us do our work.
So if Secretary General have a chance to talk to Hamas directly, he would advise them to accept this.
He has been for months and months and months calling for a ceasefire.
And then in this 20 points deal, it didn't really clarify that whether the IDF would stay in Gaza. What's the position of the UN on the after?
The position is that we need to get to a ceasefire, and we need to get humanitarian aid, we need to get the hostages out, and we need to allow Palestinians to start rebuild their own future on their own land. Lenka, then Michelle. Sorry.
Thank you, Steph. Happy Friday. There are reports that the UN complex in Nairobi is growing and will be able to accommodate about 20% more of employees. Are there any updates on when the move of the UN headquarters employees will start?
It is, in fact, growing. I mean, last time I was there was construction. It's been expanding for some time. I think a number of agencies are already looking at moving. A lot of it will also depend on the budget and decisions by member states. Please.
Were there any discussions on Washington paying its fees, this General Assembly, and are you hopeful to get it?
That is often a topic of discussion. Michelle.
Thanks, Steph. The US has just said they've carried out another strike against a vessel in international waters off Venezuela. Has there been any communication from Venezuela with the SG since that initial letter?
I have not. I saw press reports today that we would get some communication. I haven't seen anything as of yet. We're obviously concerned by the ongoing tensions and what we are seeing, and I think what is critical is to avoid any further escalation.
And then just on Haiti, and apologies again if this has already been asked, but in terms of this UN office, can you explain for our readers, listeners, whatever, what is this UN office going to do?
For Michelle Nichols' vast readership,
What
yes.
exactly will this office do?
It will be there to support the gang suppression unit on a number of areas, including logistics, equipment, to help do whatever we can and whatever tasks we've been assigned by the Security Council to ensure the success of the gang suppression force.
Military equipment?
I think all of these things are being, all those things are outlined in the resolution. Again, we're hard at work to try to define, to see how we can, as quickly as possible, implement the resolution and put the office up. Alex.
Thanks, Steph. I have a follow-up on Deji's question, if you don't mind.
There were so many Deji questions. Which one?
On the yes ultimatum. So have the United States notified you guys what will happen if Hamas doesn't accept the peace deal?
No, I mean, we've seen the public, we've seen the very clear, I would say, public statements coming out not only of Washington, but out of Israel as well.
Have they asked you for like redeployment or something like that?
No, not
right,
that I'm aware. Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steph. Russia President Putin said yesterday that if the United States provide Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, there might be a new level of escalation. So does the SG has any comments on that?
No, this particular comment, I think, as you know, we want to see an end to the conflict in Ukraine, in line with international law, in line with Ukraine's territorial integrity and its sovereignty and relevant UN resolutions. Gabriel Elizondo.
Thank you, Steph. On Haiti, another follow-up. You said you just came out of meetings with various departments about this new and innovative way of doing things. Can you just give us, foreshadow a little bit on what the main challenge or challenges are that the UN is trying to grapple with in some sort
It's Haiti. There are a lot of challenges.
and specifically with the Gang Suppression Force, GSF, not to be confused. Can we
Yes.
change that acronym, by the
That's
way?
that's not ours.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Point taken, Gabriel. Mr. Klein.
Yes, my question goes back to the 20-point Gaza peace plan, and I need to pin you down a little bit because you focused on one element of it, crucial element, the ceasefire. But I'd like to know whether the Secretary General, number one, has reviewed the plan and is willing to publicly urge Hamas to accept it in light of reports that a majority of Palestinians in Gaza have urged or support the plan and are urging Hamas to accept it.
Look, Joe, we didn't have to wait for this plan or any other plan to urge all the parties involved in this conflict to find the political courage to accept a ceasefire, and we will continue to do so.
But ceasefire is one part of the plan. There's a whole interconnected
It's a start. It's a start. If all of the parties agree on this plan, this is a positive thing. Mr. Abdelhamid, I sense you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Steph. Yesterday, Farhan was almost close to say that what Israel did in the high seas with the Samud flotilla was a violation of international law and the sea laws also. Israel, after that, directed all the ships to Asqalan, and they arrested most of these activists from 50 countries. All around the world there are demonstrations. 500,000 just walked out in Italy in a strike, demonstration everywhere. But we didn't hear from the UN Secretary General something in a statement to support the peaceful expression of solidarity with Gaza and trying to break the siege, which has been going on for years over Gaza.
So what is the question, Abdelhamid? I'm sorry.
Why there was no statement from the Secretary General in support of these peaceful
I wish people would be listening to what we've been saying for quite some time. We have always supported peaceful movements to support the Palestinian people, to end this conflict. People have a right to demonstrate. People want to advocate to see the end of this conflict, to help to see the humanitarian situation improve, to help see the hostages released, to get us back to a two-state solution. And this will continue to be our position.
Do you condemn the arrest of these activists? They are in jail now.
We understand that they will be repatriated back to their countries of origin. We are obviously concerned about the interception at sea of a number of these vessels and the detention of these activists who were raising the need for more humanitarian aid for the population of Gaza. As Farhan said yesterday very clearly, all actions of member states must be in accordance with applicable international law. All civilians must be respected and protected in accordance with applicable international law, and those detained must be treated in accordance with applicable obligations under international human rights law.
Thank you.
Deji.
No, it's not about escalators, so don't worry. Next Monday, the GA will discuss UN Initiative Streamline 2, the mandates. I have a technical question. So the Secretary General suggesting the future mandates are having, let's say, expiration date, sunset article. What about those existing mandates? How to finish them if they don't have any, finished
That would be up
time?
for member states to.
So they have to decide each one?
Yeah, I mean, member states have. Member states giveth, member states taketh away.
So
when
they
it
have
comes
to decide like
mandates.
each and every
And
mandate.
the Secretary General will, I think, will be presenting that update on Monday. All right. It's been a pleasure. I was about to say it's Monday, but it's Friday, right?